All right. Now, in the presence of a quorum, we'll call the December 19th Town of Somerville Planning Commission meeting to order. First order of business will be the approval of minutes from the meeting of November 21st. Are there any additions or corrections to those as they were published?
Approve as the second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. It's unanimous. All right. Move on to public hearings. The first is a petition by Mad Dog Development LLC to annex Dorchester County, TMS number 15200000051, 3.83 acres located off Flood Hires Road, currently zoned MUC Mixed Use Community District in Dorchester County and will be zoned urban corridor mixed use upon annexation to the town of Somerville's municipal limits, Council District 5. Is the petitioner here? Would you like to tell us about it?
Hello, my name is Daniel Scarda. For the petition, we're looking to propose the annex into that zoning code. We've been working, try to find a use for the property that more aligns with kind of our view, and ultimately we'd like to have some commercial along the street frontage along the Burlington Myers Road, and some multi-family dwelling behind it. And looking for open conversation about what you guys might be interested in there as well.
Okay.
And just to add on to that, Mr. Chairman, my name is Nicole Scott. I'm with Next Input. This public hearing and the next public hearing go together. They're it's a joint annexation, and they would be developing both properties. And we have met with Jesse and the planning staff and the engineering department and all that to get their input and feedback on it. The site-specific plan is still under development as we do get comments back from the various governmental entities and any thoughts that you or council might have. But as you all know, the first step is just getting it appropriately zoned to have that mixed use of residential and commercial.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
If I may.
Yes.
You were talking about commercial on the Berlin G,
Along the roadway, on our parcel, yeah.
and what's the access?
We've got curb cut under our road. We've actually had initial conversations with DOT to look at kind of how we would pose an access there.
And would that be able to be accessed by either way the traffic is going? If they're going west, can they take a left into you?
I don't think we've gotten that far yet. I would have to review that, but I don't believe so, no.
Because I thought Berlin G only had Luton and Carolina as interchanges and nothing else.
Yeah, I believe that's the case.
So I wasn't aware from looking at all of their plans that there was access that way. So if you don't have access on Berlin G, what is your other access point?
Well, the current parcel has a curb cut and encroachment for both. Well, actually, both parcels have encroachments on that roadway. So we were actually talking about just consolidating it to one.
Mhm.
But we've been reviewing that with DOT.
And do you have access to Fisher?
Not currently, no. Neither parcel does.
And the adjoining to you? There's development going on beside you, I believe.
Not that I'm aware of. We share the first parcel joins with the Limehouse project.
Okay, that,
But yeah,
it seems to get almost over, right, and almost touch it.
yeah, no, that board that shares the property line. with
Okay.
Limehouse, yeah. I thought you meant on the other side.
No, I've seen those four houses. They're gonna put the road going right through them. Okay.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this? If not, we'll close the public hearing. Move on to the next, which is the petition by Iacocca and Terry W. Richburg to annex Dorchester County TMS 15201020007, 13.24 acres, located at 116 Flood Hairs Road, currently zoned R1 Single Family Residential, and will be zoned urban corridor mixed use upon annexation into the town of Somerville's municipal limits, Council District 5.
Again, Nicole Scott, as I mentioned previously, this is adjacent to the last parcel that we just mentioned, and so with council's approval, obviously, would come in together and be zoned together, so together. And I believe in answer to your question, sir, I think it's a right in, right out. Is that correct?
I'm still shocked that they allowed anything. Because Berlin G was only supposed to have two. You get on at 17, Loudon, Carolina, then go on up.
And conversations are still obviously ongoing with DOC.
Now, part of this property was sold to the county for the project, for Berlin G.
I believe so, that's correct.
And how many units are on? What is it, 16 acres, 16, almost 17?
So, the initial plans we've been working with engineering, shows about 300 units, on the parcel.
In the ratio of parking?
Slightly above 1.6, spots per unit.
And these owned or rented?
This would be for rent. Obviously, we can,
The building height? So we
so
can get 4 stories?
believe so, yes, in the back, the buildings in the back. The ones we've shown thus far.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to speak to this? Seeing no one, we'll close this hearing and move to the next. So a request to rezone TMS number 13714050013, 800 South Main Street, approximately 0.47 acres, owned by John Thomas Wayne Beasley, from GR2 General Residential to NMX Neighborhood Mixed Use. It's in Council District 3. Is the petitioner here?
Yes, I'm here to speak on that, Mr.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Bryce Ricker. I'm a local attorney in Somerville, and I'm part of a law firm with 3 law partners, and we have an LLC that is contracted to purchase the frame shop. And most of us here know that frame shops have been around forever, as long as I've been alive, certainly. And when I saw it was for sale, I think it was for sale in June. And we had been looking for a more permanent location for our Somerville office, currently rural Old Charlotte Road. I used to be law partner with Jerry Rigger. We had purchased 25% of one of the historic buildings right by the park in Town Square. And when I branched off, I wanted to come back here, not to North Main, not necessarily down Old Charlotte, but somewhere in the historic area. And I saw this as just a golden opportunity to work in what I consider one of the coolest, historic, most charming buildings in Somerville. And when I drive by it, I always thought, what in the world is that building doing there in the midst of these residences? And how did it ever become a frame shop? And so went to the RMC office and did a bunch of research and tracked it back down to the Middletons, who left one of their nieces, and my law partner, one of them is named David Smith. And I said, David, you'll never believe this. I pulled up a old deed from, I think it was 1929, and it referred to this property as the Smith Corner Store. and his name's Smith. So I think he thought it may be fate, but nevertheless, I said, I don't even know if we can operate a law firm out of this business, but let me get a real estate agent and see where it goes. I told them I'm more excited about it, I think, than they are. I don't think because they didn't grow up here. And I told them, it's such a unique property, it may not be able to go through. So we put the contract contingent on this, us being allowed to use it. And I've been in touch with my real estate agent, their real estate agent. Mr. Beasley's owned it for years. I understand he's 85. He's living in Jordan, assisted living now. He's going to sell his property eventually to someone. And so he, through his real estate agent, asked me to speak on his behalf today about getting rezoned. But I also have a vested interest in the rezoning because I'd like to purchase ultimately this property. The reason, the idea and the concept and vision that we have is that we make the building exactly the way it is now, only a new awning, a new roof, the broken windows replaced, new paint. If it's got asbestos, get it out. If it's got whatever it needs. So we went and looked at it with my contractor who does a lot of work in Somerville, who was very helpful to me, and that's Mike Taylor. And he met us out at the property, went into the building, and we went inside. As you walk inside the building, you notice right away the floor is uneven with buckles. And it's an interesting building. It's got a lot of stuff in there for frame shop, for frame making. And it's just one big open area except for some border walls, not real walls. So I'm quite certain that it needs everything from flooring, walls, a roof, probably Mike mentioned maybe about $150,000. And it's always, you get that budget, I always think it's probably more like 250. So I thought, well, Mike, what do we do next? And he put me in touch with, and I haven't met you in person yet, but it's nice to meet you face to face with Ms. Schuler, and she was very helpful and said, well, you can't use it as a law office if you're going to renovate it, because here's the code. And I read the ordinance. And sure enough, it says you change the structure to indicate a clear intention to use it as something else other than frame shop, then it's going to lose its legal non-conforming status forever. And then it becomes residential, and then you've got this building here, and I really don't know how someone would come in and build a house and not tear this building down, which I doubt and hope it wouldn't. The architectural review board wouldn't allow that. So I think Mr. Beasley's kind of in a tough spot because he wants to sell it, but anybody that comes in is going to go through some challenges because truly the building, it's going to need someone that cares enough about it to keep it and cares enough about it to spend a lot of money. Myself, my firm are dedicated to that. If it meets with Somerville's crew, and I told them, I said, I live in T Farm, so my drive I'll be going through one stoplight getting to work in the morning. So my interests are not all completely altruistic. I want that as my law firm, and I want to keep it with the historic look and feel it has today. And it's going to require months and months of restoration, renovations. So at the end of the day, what my plan was, and of course I understand now that it has to be approved by the architectural review board, is to have the same color, maybe some, they had little lights out there that I don't think work anymore, replace those, and the paint on the wall, it would just, instead of saying frame shop, we thought about having some sort of historic font with just Smith Evans Allen Rickard there. From an outside perspective, maybe, traditional Smith Evans Allen Rickard signs in the windows. But from the outside, it would look exactly the same, except for those things that I talked about. Besides, it would have a new roof, new paint, no broken windows. I think there's some things that we have to do if we do that with the ADA, excuse me, and making sure it's compliant, handicap accessible, things of that nature. We are excited, ready, willing, and able to do that if it meets with the town of Somerville's approval and if it's a right fit. And if it's not, then I don't want to embark on it. But if it is, I think we may benefit the town of Somerville by making sure this property keeps its historic charm for many years to come.
Okay, thank you.
Right, she gonna leave a chair out there for the moms to sit on when they wait for the kids to cross at Somerville Elementary.
No loitering.
Yeah.
No, yeah, we're gonna have to replace, I think, the park bench. And certainly, children will be welcome to come and sit as long as.
And your
You're gonna,
concept- Excuse me.
I was gonna ask you, you're gonna keep the footprint of the building the same
Exactly the same.
and,
No additions.
okay, and the windows and everything you propose, keep them the same just to repair them?
To repair them, there's bars in the windows. So, we probably propose that we take the bars down, unless that's, the architectural review board says, no, that's from this historical
Hmm.
perspective that we want to keep. But we
Okay.
probably take the bars off, but same windows, we wouldn't be cutting through the wall or anything like that.
And the parking that you would propose to use as you're facing the building from Main Street, would that be to the left or to the, or along, what's the side street there?
Hampton?
Hampton?
Well, if you're facing the building, the parking would be on the left. I mean, there's some limited, I don't even know if it's parking on the side of the road there, if there's room for a car. But, we would probably need to put some, we wouldn't pay it, but we probably need to put something down, to designate car spots. Right now, it's just sort of a yard.
Yeah.
And, when you pull in, there may be maybe a little bit hazardous when you pull in because there's a great drop off. There's no clear indication where you pull in. So my plan would not to be to replace anything or change anything structurally to the outside, with the exception of perhaps the bars and with parking. I would have to really defer to the whatever architect or designer that we use to figure out what would be the safest.
And what size firm would you have in this building?
So right now, there's two of us right now in Somerville. Our whole firm has less than 15 employees. We have our sort of home base in Florence, South Carolina, but we need resources. We'll probably be adding 2 soon. So we'll probably have between 3 to 4 resources, and we'll have anywhere on a busy day between 3 appointments with clients to maybe in person. A lot of the appointments are done over the telephone. Most of the appointments are scheduled, so we don't have a lot of, it's not like we don't get a lot of business from foot traffic.
Mhm.
It's mostly.
But you would
referral.
have 3 to 4 attorneys and staff in the building?
Yes, including
more.
myself and including staff, 3 or 4 people total.
Okay, plus your clients.
Plus the
Okay.
clients.
How much space do you have behind it? From the back of the building, because if you're talking about ADA, that's probably where you'd put your handicap access, because the front, I can't see any way of doing that. The way it's set up, almost like a Western, step up to get away from the mud type of thing.
I would agree with that. There's a side door.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
maybe put it the back door. The interesting thing about this property is that mostly it's covered with woods. So you can't really see how big this property is, about a half acre, but, so I don't know exactly how far it is. It's a little bit misleading when you pull in. It looks really small. But one of the suggestions was made is we put it on the side door, which would be mainly, our employees would be back there where we do the work with our paralegals and such. But that may be the point of entry for folks that need that.
BAR will
Oh, yeah, I was just wondering.
regulate.
I was looking at the front of saying, if you're doing 1 to 10, they're halfway over to the school almost to put the ramp in on that side.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's fairly, the side door is fairly, low compared to the parking spaces and what have you. Yeah, before it was a frame shop, Mr. Beasley's parents had a grocery in there. They took it over from Smith back in the day. We all hang out over there after high school, in the afternoons after school. Go over there and buy Pepsis and have a smoke because we couldn't smoke on the school grounds. So,
Well, we hope to keep that, not the smoking part, but certainly the children across the street.
Yeah.
Are well.
you know, I quit the smoking over 40 years ago, so I'm
Are you still drinking Pepsi?
occasionally. All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to this?
We are the neighbors.
Okay. Would you
Want to
come up and if you will, sign in so they're
Oh,
right there.
okay. Sorry, we've never done this before.
We just like to get the names right for the
Yeah.
minutes and we've got the other folks who signed in on pieces of paper and
So we have lots of questions and concerns.
Okay.
First of all, what type of lawyer what type of lawyer are you and what is your purview? Do they handle criminals and tough custody battles?
Is it okay to answer the questions?
um,
We do, mostly civil work, but we also, my partners do criminal work, so criminal defense work.
So I have a big problem with that being across the street from my 7-year-old. Toddlers, her grandchildren, the school across the street is an elementary school. There's many civil cases that involve things like child pornography, issues like that, criminal cases like that. And that's not safe for our neighborhood. And we don't agree with that at all.
Well, I will tell you that I don't do any criminal defense. The criminal defense attorney that does that type of work is in Florence, South Carolina. So my practice is all employment law, so people that get questions about being terminated or getting wages reduced, people that get hurt, people that are disabled, but get denied benefits from their social disability. Those are my three main areas of practice. I don't currently stand in that, but I do have a partner that does criminal law, and our firm basically does do part of that.
So at this current time, you're not doing that, but you're going to have this law office moving forward. So, and it is within, a very close walking distance from an elementary school and many toddlers. And there would be more of us here if it weren't Christmas time to talk about this.
Okay,
But
well.
we don't think it should be a law office. It's supposed to go back to being zoned residential, and that's what we were all told when we purchased our properties. This was a very special case. This is a historic town, and this is in the middle of a residential, one of the few left residential areas, and it's quite beautiful. We also heard, and I don't know if this is just hearsay, that you were thinking of clearing all of the green space behind it, which, we didn't plan on living in Carnes Crossroads. We're looking for that green space, and that's part of the beauty why we don't allow trees to be cut down unless they're diseased and dying in our neighborhood. Yeah.
My name is David. I grew up here. I went to school at Raleigh. I was in Somerville Elementary. I walked that crosswalk years of my life. I know that area like the back of my hand. I lived right next door to it. I made it a point when I moved back here from out of state that was where my family wanted to settle. And we always enjoyed the quaintness of this area. It never changed until recently. So we're very concerned with the direction that it's headed in the protected area. And so we just have a lot of concerns about that. I want to make sure that it's safe for our child to walk out into our yard, which is 10 feet away from a prospective criminal showing up for
council.
or civil suit or whatever. I mean, I still think whenever people are involved in this stuff, it's high stress, it's high stake. I just read an article the other day in Lawrenceville, Georgia, not far from here, where someone went into a law office very similarly in appearance to that building and shot the lawyer because they were unhappy with the way that their case turned out. And, you know, it's just not something, excuse me, that we should think should be in the middle of a neighborhood.
Ma'am, Mr. Victor, let me ask you a question. If someone was under some sort of penalty because of a conviction for child pornography, like she said, and there's limits on how close they come to school, they would not be allowed to go in that area. Isn't that correct?
Absolutely, that's my understanding.
So that anyone who has a disability required by the law that they are not allowed to go near a school would not be allowed to go to this law office for that. So I'm just trying to address one of your concerns, ma'am.
It
There.
doesn't create a loophole just because they're lawyers.
Right. Yeah. So and any kind of other things that limitations of what can take place within the limits, or like some of the sex offender statutes require people to stay 1,000 feet or more away from a school. Those would still apply to everyone going to that law office, just like it would in your home if it's nearby, or anybody else who lives in that area. I mean, I'm very aware of this. My children went to that elementary school. I walked them by there many mornings, picked them up many afternoons in that area. So I know the area, I know the neighborhood there. I'm familiar with it, but I just, and I understand your concern. I've got 5 children. I've got 8 grandchildren now, and I'm very concerned about them. But sometimes, you know, the concerns, you know, and understand your concerns, and I'm trying to maybe assuage some of your problems there as things that are probably or that will not happen on this piece of property, given the issue. And your concerns are entirely appropriate. I agree with you on your concerns, but I think that the law firm, this type of law firm, is not one that would be one that would have a stream of criminal elements, so to speak, coming in and out on a regular basis there.
Not at this time, though. I mean, you know, that's the thing. Once they get their law office established, and let's say he takes on another partner that does something else, it doesn't have to be that they're a sex offender. They can be close to a school if they're a criminal, just if they're not a sex offender. They can be close to a school if they're in a civil case with child custody battling going on right next to an elementary school. And that's okay. It's just sex offenders that are blocked. So when it comes to a law office, like I said, there's a lot of high stress situations, not to mention the amount of cars. So you got 4 cars already for the employees, 1 to 2 cars for every person that's coming in. There's not enough parking there. And we're not expecting in a protected historic area that they would be able to clear trees, and that we can't clear trees like that. We don't want to. That all of that would be cleared, just making it all one open area to just see for miles, because they're going to need space. And, you know, once they get their foot in the door with something like this, it's just, then let's say he wants to sell it and flip it, and then it goes again and again, and it becomes other commercial properties over the years. Once it's rezoned out of residential, we're no longer protected. And it is a residential neighborhood, and that's why to us, it's fair that it remains residential. And that's what we think. And not only us, but many, many of our neighbors. Some are in New York City today, at Rockefeller Center ice skating with their children. Some are in the middle of doing some Christmas events at their bed and breakfasts. There's a lot of us that are, you know, our 2 other neighbors are here too, as well with their concerns. So it's not just us, it's everybody around the property that's concerned.
This property is nestled right dead center in the middle of the district. As we all know, you guys, this starts off the house. This is where we grew up.
We go to the park, we walk, we're walking, our daughter's riding her bike outside of our driveway, and we don't want cars coming in and out going to a business. I mean, with us, it's just our neighbors going home, you know, like any other neighborhood, but putting a business right there, we have enough with the football field. But that's across the street, luckily.
Yeah, 20 degrees, it's a whole other problem.
Yeah, but we like our little Hampton Street to stay our little Hampton Street. Our kids play out. They run, you know, go to birthday parties back and forth. They go trick or treating out there. We just don't think that this is a place to have a business. When we first moved in, almost, what was it, 8 or 9 years ago, 2014. We were the first young couple with a child. We had our baby when, right after we moved in, and there were a lot of retired couples. There were a lot of older people, and more people our age started moving in. And it's starting to become this really lively walking community. And we just don't want to see businesses taking that safety away from our children in our neighborhood on our side street.
You're at 806,
Yeah, Able,
pardon,
726.
726. I'm sorry.
directly next door.
Okay, you're across Hampton.
Across Hampton.
I
Street.
see, yes. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thank you, guys.
I do have one letter that was submitted that I'd like to read into the record as well.
Okay, thank you.
Dear Ms. Schuler and board members, thank you for taking the time to read my letter regarding the historic general store property located at 800 South Main Street. The building and the property were originally built around the 1910s, according to my family that have been in this area for over 200 years. My great-grandmother, Margaret Limehouse Powers, owned the property and successfully ran the only general store in the area. Many in the community relied on the store for many years. In fact, the general store provided more than just the groceries. It also provided the local high school students with daily lunches. It was my grandfather, John Tracy Powers, that made sure the lunches were delivered each school day. The store was eventually sold to Mr. Beasley for $456 in 1946. He continued to operate the general store well into the 1980s. Mr. Beasley sold the store to buy the lot adjacent from his uncle in Stallsville. I have spent my entire life living next to the general store. It is deeply rooted into the community as it is an iconic property loved by the many people that have lived on and around the Main Street area for generations. I know I can speak on behalf of several in the area. We are excited to see the old building being restored to preserve the history we all remember and love. However, I have deep concerns that the property will not be preserved in its entirety. The total lot is 0.47 acres. The property in its entirety is a historical site with not only the historic building, but the large live oaks and azaleas that have been on the property for as long as if not longer than the building itself. I am concerned the new owners will subdivide the lot and sell the back half of the lot. The development of the back half of the lot would not only eliminate the historical trees, camellias, and azaleas, but it could create flooding issues that would affect the surrounding lots, including the general store building. Please consider preservation of the historically beloved general store lot in its entirety. I truly appreciate your time and consideration. Sincerely, Meg Courtney, 806 South Main Street.
Okay, thank you. Is there anything else, Jesse? Is there anyone else who wants to talk to this? And seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. And being no old business, we'll look at new business, new street names. I don't see any. Shucks. Those are fun.
Those are always fun.
So the first would be the petition by Mad Dog Development LLC to annex Dorchester County TMS number 15200000051, 3.83 acres located off Flood Hares Road, currently zoned mixed use community in Dorchester County and will be zoned the urban corridor mixed use upon annexation into Council District 5. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the petitions, both petitions 2 and 3.
You want to combine the two?
Yeah, I move to combine the 2 and I make a motion to approve them both.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Your density bothers me because it's just so much in that one area and the height. I don't believe there's anything but single family currently existing around it. And it's like an urban building popping up in the middle of the road there, so. It just seems out of place. May I add something? That's not you. That's them. No, that's them. Wrong one. Yeah, they're putting 316 units with cars on 17 acres with a 4-story height. And most of the things over there and around are single family, and there's Limehouse Village coming close to you, which is single family. So it just seems like, poof, it's out of place. So
Yeah, the only mitigation there is that it's gonna wind up on the Berlin G extension.
And Jesse, can I ask you, what is the difference between the existing urban corridor mixed use and the mixed use community district that they have in the county and our urban corridor mixed use?
I am not real familiar with the county's mixed use community, but I believe it does allow similar uses to our urban corridor mixed use.
Okay, that's my understanding. I just wanted to confirm it, that we're not really changing the permitted use of the property that much. It's more of a annexation with the similar kind of zoning that it already has. And that's why I moved to approve it.
And your water and sewer is coming from who?
So we've, our engineer Thompson Hutton is, engaged with both, county, county groups for, water and sewer. We're still working on, procuring will serve letters. They're familiar with the size and the scope of the project, as is the DOT. So that's where we're planning on getting it from now. We'll provide that as soon as we have it.
So out there is Dorchester County Water and Sewer and Dorchester Water Authority.
That's the plan. Yes. Any other questions? Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know how far that is off the CPWs. I don't think they're serving anything out there.
Got Tompkins land out there.
All right, anything else? If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Opposed. The ayes have it. It'll be sent on to church council, or town council. Wrong building.
You're involved in too many things.
Yeah, you got that right. All right, then that leaves the request to rezone TMS number 13714050013 800 South Main Street, approximately 0.47 acres, owned by John Thomas Wayne Beasley, from GR2 General Residential to Neighborhood Mixed Use under Council District 3. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I'll second that.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion?
Jesse, this is in the historic district, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and if the law firm were to stay there a year, then decide to go somewhere else, what else could go in under a neighborhood mixed use in that building?
It could
Appearance
be,
constraints or no?
it could be a retail use, which it already is
Right.
currently. It could be personal service like a salon or a nail salon or that type of thing. It could be a doctor. I mean, there's lots of different uses in the neighborhood mix, but it is limited commercial. I mean, it can't be a bar or anything like that. It couldn't anyway because of the
Or a
proximity to the
garage
school.
for a repair?
No, it can't be an automotive oriented
Okay,
business.
just wondering, thank you.
Anything else?
I'd just like to say that I sympathize with the concerns expressed by both sides here. As an attorney in civil practice, I understand the clientele. They're generally not of a dangerous type. I practiced 40-something years and never had any kind of physical conflicts or anything like that with my clients in my office. But likewise, being a parent of children, particularly in that area, walk in that area, and having my kids walk to the football games and things there, I understand the concerns expressed by you and the fact that this does open the use of this property up in the future. But as Jesse said, it's a very limited opening there. It would have to be some sort of retail space, some sort of low impact kind of dwelling if the law firm chose not to go there. So while I'm not unmindful of your concerns, I'm going to personally vote in favor of the rezoning, but understanding that the final decision is done by the town council here.
I'm of the mind of knowing, my children certainly walk back from Somerville Elementary School many a day with your children. And where we are in the neighborhood and this child here was a former student of mine. Not at that site, but going way back. So I kind of know all the players here. And what struck me about Mr. Ricker's presentation is his desire to keep the building as the building is and preserve it, which is the nature of the historic district to begin with. I would be more concerned if it ever reverted to residential, because you may keep that footprint, the BAR, but then they're going to, somebody's going to want to build a garage there, and that's going to require moving trees, and they're going to want to, I think there's probably a lot more impact that's going to happen to that property if somebody gets it and turns it into a residential space, which was never the intention for that place. And we, as you know, we're walkers in our neighborhood, and I often lament as I walk even down my own street, I can point to the number of buildings there that at one point in the history of the town had a commercial usage of one variety or another. The place right at the corner of West Carolina and Sutton Street used to be a battery store of all things. God forbid anybody ever did too much digging on that property to see what was in the soil. And then there's other little small buildings here and there that used to be people's little stores for one purpose or another. And one of the great things about zoning is it does keep some undesirable things out. But one of the bad things about zoning as it was practiced in its early forms is it sometimes sterilizes communities by losing things other than just people living side by side in houses and then getting in cars and driving away to the commercial usage. So I have often lamented the fact that we don't have any of this little mixed use still in the historic area where we are. So, for those reasons, I probably would vote to allow it. This is not a proposal to an amendment, but just a question for the board. I know at one point we had a meeting not long ago where we requested that some buildings not be overly altered before we send them to town hall to be sold. I'm not 100% sure whatever happened to that. But I wonder if there couldn't be to allay some of the concerns of the other neighbors, maybe if the parties in the contract were amenable to it, some kind of deed restriction that would keep it from being subdivided in the future.
Yeah, I think in that case, Jim, that the property was not in the historical district, was the reason we sent that request to council, which they followed through with, by the way. In this case, I believe the BAR is going to do more protection than we could by, trying to make a contract stipulation, because if you've ever attended their meetings, they get real
Well,
religious about some of this.
I've been part of some of their meetings
Yeah.
before, not always at my own will.
Yeah, I have as well, so.
Jesse, is there a lot size limitation for the general residential? Mixed use, excuse me.
There is not for the neighborhood mixed use. There is for the general residential.
Okay.
All right, anything else? And that, all in favor of the recommendation to approve, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, it's unanimous. See, you have anything for us under miscellaneous, Jessica?
I do not. Just Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Same
Merry
to you and
Christmas.
yours. To the commissioners, we are,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Adjourn.